Hi, everyone. Welcome to Legend Haven. This is a special edition of Legend Makers. We are joined today by Paola Ciskanik. She is the founder of Catholic Homeschool Online and longtime friend. Welcome, Paola. Good to be with you.
Hello, welcome, Dominic. Yes, it is. It is a pleasure. And I kind of asked for this because I am very, very excited about where we started and what we're seeing now and where it's going to go in the future. So this is really, truly, truly a wonderful experience. I can't wait to share it with my community. So yay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I attribute so much of the success of what Legend Haven is today to our collaboration over the last year, 2022, and creating a home for teens to get creative and get writing. And then they just kind of blew us away with the amount of creativity that they had. And so I ended up just closing up shop in one place and merging everybody together and rebranding to cater to, as we say, the ludicrous drama and fun that we're having with this brand. And of course, now we're kind of crowning it all our first year with this con. And so I think it's a great idea to take a step back and look at some of this journey and talk about Catholic homeschool community and a brief overview of the legend fiction journey. So why don't we start with you and what your community is all about?
Sure. So, I wanted to actually step back even one step further so people actually even know that, when you say yes to God, He takes you in places you never imagined that are incredibly better than you'd imagine. So, here it is. I'm a wife of 35 years, Catholic wife, mother of 7 grown children now. In fact, my baby just started his first job out of college, and I homeschool my children for 20 plus years. And when the pandemic, hit and everybody's homeschooling, which we know is not homeschooling, that was pandemic schooling, getting together with friends. But prior to that, I'd been transitioning into just being able to serve the church. And that's where you and I met. We started doing marketing together for Perusia Media, and you had this incredible gift that I'm so glad that I've been able to experience and witness, which was the ability to take vision, that people have these visions and this heart for the church, and take that story and make it into images and into a way to connect in a digital realm in a way that we now have people in our Catholic homeschool community that are from all over the world, and it's growing by leaps and bounds. So again, say yes to God and He takes you in these amazing places.
Agreed.
So as you had mentioned, Dominic, so there we are, we started that. I called upon even Charbel from Perusian and my friends Walter Maureen from Homeschool Connections. And we just said, look, let's throw together a conference. I knew you could do the tech, the design, and it was perfect and beautiful and continues to be a blessing. And we were blown away. We thought maybe we get maybe 500 people, 9,000 people joined. It was just, it's
It was big.
explosive.
Yeah.
So then the following year, and my heart was always in the sense that I knew that when you went to an event, and this is going to be kind of important because I want to tie legend fiction with Legend Haven, is that when you go to an event, it gets you all excited and you're pumped up and you meet all these people. And very often, especially the in-person events, you come home with all that energy and motivation, and then boom, there isn't any
Exactly.
follow through. So that's
Mhm.
why I started the Catholic homeschool community. And that was really my heart project.
Mhm.
And we had the technology these days to actually join with a platform that got us off the treadmill of social media. We have our own private, safe place, and we built this hub just so that we could flourish in our new, meeting people that are newly coming into the homeschool world, understanding it's a lifestyle. It
Mhm.
is our calling as Catholic parents to be primary educators. And there are just so many people supporting this mission. I'm just so grateful, including you, right? So why don't you
Absolutely.
tell us
Yeah.
the story about how we started with the teen writers? Because I think we both
Mhm.
have big hearts for teens.
Oh, absolutely. So let's see. So as you said, we were collaborating with working on marketing, and then this opportunity came up to help bring homeschoolers together. And this is what fascinated me right from the beginning was your vision of helping families to not just thrive in homeschooling, because everybody's sort of selling that today, but to reimagine homeschooling in 2022 on the other side of the pandemic, or in the middle of it, because there are so many new tools and opportunities that we haven't yet fully embraced. So there is a real opportunity to reimagine what that's like and give families an actual sense of freedom around their how they're choosing to conduct education with their families. And then I think after about a year, and we're hosting these conferences, and you're putting together this community. I think there were some teens who we began to recognize there's an incredible amount of creativity among teens. And you and I had been chatting about some of my experience hosting teen contests, writing contests, and art contests. And so, if my memory serves me, I pretty much volunteered and said, "Hey, let me host an art contest and see what
Correct.
happens."
Right.
Yeah, and the comments just blew up on that one event that we hosted. The number of teens who just participated, and it was some of the most beautiful art from. And they're not even adults yet. The level of the quality, the expertise, it just blew us away. And so,
Yeah,
right
the
around that
theme was,
time,
your saint and why that saint
that's
inspires
right.
you, and
Mhm.
literally, there were over 100 entries that, like, it made it, really almost impossible to find a winner.
It did. It did. The reason why that excited me, especially in terms of helping you build your community, was that it showed families that homeschool kids are they can thrive. It's not just a bringing them home into isolation, but it's a freeing up of their attention and their creativity, and it gives them that opportunity to discover that on their own terms, at their own pace. And that's something that children, I do believe, excel in. And that contest really showed that. So I think right around that time, it was actually
Mhm,
December of 2021,
mhm.
had a flash of inspiration around a brand I'd been trying to build for 10 years as a personal brand, and it wasn't going anywhere. And I couldn't figure out how to make it work. And then all of a sudden, I realized I need to turn it into a writing community. And not make it about me, make it about people who want the same things that I want out of writing in the Catholic fiction space. So I relaunched Catholic Author. And then you saw that and like, oh, could we get a fiction contest in my community for children, for teens?
For teens, yeah.
And so we did. So for about 8 months, we had two different communities kind of running in parallel.
Yeah.
And we ran contests and we started a podcast and to sort of bring them together. And after about 8 months, it was kind of becoming not unwieldy, but it's like all of the teens were having all of this fun. And it's kind of like I wanted the adults to benefit from the energy and just start sharing them together. And I'm starting to put a mentor program together. And the mentors are like logging into two different accounts. And they're like saying, Dominic, I love spending time with the teens because
Yeah,
it's just
they're
popping and they just
amazing.
don't want to stop. And,
Right.
so at that point, I began to realize one, we need to merge these communities. They really need to come and influence and inspire each other. There's also the sort of peer-to-peer mentoring. There's the adult to teen mentoring. Then there's the actual mentors mentoring that's happening as well, and allowing them to inspire each other. Um, and I think right around the time when I was rethinking this, you invited me to present on the value of creativity in homeschooling, which I
Yeah.
couldn't, I was so humbled and impressed at the response from people to that encouragement to allow kids to be creative.
One
Um,
of the things you mentioned about creativity, and this happens so often, is when parents decide to homeschool, the first question they always ask is, well, what curriculum do I use? And really, in many ways, that's not the first question to ask. First question to ask is to really first have that powwow through prayer with your spouse and really define why you're going to homeschool them and what are your educational goals for your children
mhm,
spiritually and the dynamics of the family. And then we look at these precious gifts that are given
mhm,
on loan to us. And like you, we did a little interview too that talked about the fact that you were homeschooled. And as a teen, I think this also stems from the fact that you were a teen who wanted to write and didn't really have this kind of sense of community to help foster that, and
mhm.
that was something that you wanted to give back, was this
Yes.
idea that you knew there were other teens out there that were just like you when you were a kid and wanted to really be able to be true to your faith. You've been given this gift and this passion from God, and you want to serve Him in this world, but how do we do this in community and in a way with fellow Catholics?
Absolutely. That's absolutely it. I have I have a soft spot for paying it forward
Yeah.
to other teens out there. Absolutely. So that's where we are now. We're now at a point where we're celebrating our first convention. As you said, Legend Haven. It's kind of a big clarion call. Who's out there who kind of likes this sort of thing? Come and not just meet the members of our community and our mentors and the speakers and so on, but meet each other. And that's really the magic of a convention or a conference. But ours is more of a convention because it's more about the fun than the learning. Meet other people who think like you, who enjoy fiction in the way that you do. And then if that's something that then calls to you and you want to then come and join us, you can then join us in our own actual community dedicated to helping people with the craft of writing.
So how are teens going to be able to participate in this? So just to make things clear, and I wanted people to, really that tune in onto this, is to understand that, again, you're taking your community of legend fiction, which, we merged, we got those teens who were literally all the time. Like they were doing writer meetups every weekend. This is like teens spending their free time, wanting to hang out with each other and hone their craft and be able to give, which also there is a journal that is the Outpenon was the outgrowth of that. Yeah, maybe you could share a little bit about that too.
I don't have the latest issue as of this recording, but this was the previous issue. And it's what we do is we run a contest, and then all of the finalists from the contest get published along with anything of note. And we're trying to put one out every quarter now.
And it was adults and teens. So I remember again said that, Dominic, you were like, as a teen, I wanted to see my writing in print, and the ability for us, again, you did that beautiful work because you do all the layout. Again, amazing, beautiful work, to really give their voice to these beautiful stories, the opportunity for them to aspire, to challenge each other, and to be able to, as you say, bring in mentors that will help them to hone their craft. It's very exciting to see. And I know a lot of homeschool parents are also, closet writers, they're ones that aspire to it and never had time or mentorship. Is this something, that a parent and families can do together? Maybe you could tell us a little bit about how you see that happening in the community.
So we've structured the community to allow parents or adults and teens to kind of mingle together. And we've got the main feed, and then there's a bunch of select groups where particular interests and focuses can happen there. We have also segmented out a dedicated group just for teens, so you're 17 or less. Unless you're a mentor who can join that group, it's supposed to be 17 or less. That allows teens to feel like they can chat about whatever without grown-ups always looking over their shoulders. But then there's also a 17 plus. There's an adults group because not everything is appropriate for sharing with all ages. So that's how we're keeping some conversations bracketed that are going to be more age appropriate, that sort of thing.
It's funny you said that because I know the Catholic author group, the teens were so anxious to and the thing is, they're so adorable. They're like, hey, how are you guys going to be celebrating Christmas? Like these are the kind of conversations, or like, I really admire this particular saint and I want to put him in a story, or, it's just these really, or witnessing somebody's baptism and sharing, or reflecting on their own confirmation. These are the kind of conversations, but they were coming in the Catholic homeschool community in the main feed, that I had to create a gathering space for teens just for them,
just to segment that away,
just to segment them
the
out,
adults.
because the adults were like, is this a teen group or an adult group? So they were so on fire. It was really,
I
really
liked how you mentioned the write-ins, and we did start with one weekly meetup, and we set it up, and then they just ran it all by themselves, which is just fun. So we've replicated that, of course, in the new group, and we have one of our mentors hosts a weekly write-in, and I'm now weekly getting notes in the community of people just like thanking the community for hosting this write-in. I was chatting with one member right as we launched LegendFiction, and he said, this group has been phenomenal for my younger sibling because he's doubled or tripled his writing output in the last 6 months. And Okay, so now that's a feather in my cap that I'm happy to tell everybody join this group. And if
Yeah,
your teen kind of likes writing, they'll double or triple their writing output, partly because it's so much fun, but also there's this opportunity to give and get feedback from
right.
your peers, people who are at your age who think kind of like you, and that's what we're hungry for as teens. Um,
Yeah.
but then of course we've got the mentors we're kind of watching over, and they're our mentor program. It's there are people who have graduated from Catholic universities like JP
Yeah.
Catholic. We have
Mhm.
a married couple who are now just in there every single day. Basically, we have somebody else who's a professional book coach, and they're watching the tone of the conversations, and they're providing sometimes providing feedback. And if somebody, either for example a teen or if an adult, does want to go more deeply into developmental editing or book editing or story coaching or something, then they can pull that mentor aside and have a look at their services and then actually pay them for more of that attention.
Yeah.
But in terms of providing that feedback, either peer to peer or from mentors, uh, there's now this level of professional development apart from just the fun of writing that is
Right.
now also happening. And that
Well,
it's
I
that level
also
of professional
love
development that's exciting.
how you got to meet, the connections with JP2 came through this connection of working with the homeschoolers in our conference.
Yeah, you actually referred me to the first mentor, Katie Campbell, and we've gone on to
Mhm.
like record our own podcast together for this community, and
You
just
guys are
she's
so great. I
amazing.
love the ones you've done. And it's like this little, like, you're just telling people the realities of being a writer, because it's
Hmm.
almost like people, like a different breed of people, you know?
It's kind of true.
Exactly. But I think everybody can benefit truly, truly, truly from understand, because, again, when we get back to this, the fundamentals of our faith and our heart for
Hmm.
the Lord, he did stories compelling. He teaches us
He
story.
does.
It's also about discernment. It's about being able to choose stories that will really set our children's heart aflame for the Lord.
Hmm.
And one of the things I know that we talk about often is this idea of creating fiction for, as you say, for it's the legend fiction, it's for Catholics and Orthodox Christians coming
Hmm.
together. What's different? We talk about this. What's different
Hmm.
than what's out there in terms of what kind of Christian genres
Yeah,
coming out of the fiction market, Christian fiction?
a lot of answering that question is a very important one. Every author needs to answer it for themselves, but then in terms of the communities that you join, they're going to maybe help, or I don't know, they might hinder where you want to go. But uh, the way that I see it, there are four different kinds of communities out there. There's the kind of community that, let's say, doesn't really care about the faith and all they want to do is create. You'll find a dime a dozen groups of those on Facebook. They're going to be online. A lot of them are wonderful, and I'm a part of a lot of them. But I really wanted a group that was very more faith inspired, where the faith is a really important part. But then there's the next kind, where it's like the kinds of creators want to make sure that all of their fiction is dogmatically correct, and you get an imprimatur because it's written for a specific kind of audience, primarily our audience, within our tribe or our ethnic sense of being Catholic. And that's also a needed thing. It's a different thing that's not exactly where we're going. Um, the third kind, darn it, I am drawing a blank on it. Um,
Well, talk
anyhow,
about what you guys are.
so what we are is there is a popular demand for fiction, and it's the kind of thing where we all go to the theaters on Sundays, or it's what we pull up on Netflix, and the kinds of movies that most people want to watch. Oh, I forgot the third kind, which is literal or literati, right? Which is
Mhm,
very
mhm.
high
Yeah.
quality. We're trying to create the new classics that are going to endure for the next 100, 200 years, and so on. Again, that's a different kind. Ours is more like the popular fun and fiction of our time.
Mhm.
So, for example, right now, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Narnia, Avatar. These are stories that I don't. They may not endure 100 years. Who knows? They might. Some of them have, but they're part of a language of metaphor and storytelling that is important right now. And
Mhm.
I think it's important to be creating stories that are playing in that same sandpit, because what we don't want is, in wanting to share our love of reality, our love of the faith, we don't want to be beating people over the head with, here's the truth, you poor, benighted, non Christian people, come and join us for safety. But more like, here's what we love. Maybe you'll love it too. And maybe it'll change you as much as it has changed us. It's a bit of
Well,
a different orientation.
truth and beauty are compelling,
And
and we
leading with
don't
them.
need
Yeah.
to hit a person over the head with it. It is in
Mhm,
our nature to want to be close to that. And
mhm.
so, yeah, that's an
And I do
important
see a problem with
distinction.
a lot of Christian communities, whether Catholic or Orthodox. There's a problem of creating evangelistic literature, and
Mhm.
there's a place for that. Some are like, for example, Chesterton. I think you could say he wrote that, and he's amazing at it. Um, it's a specific need, but that's not where we are. We do focus on if you're going to be a fiction writer, you have to be a good fiction writer. Otherwise, nobody's going to stick around long enough to find out what the meaning or
Right.
the message is. So we
Yeah.
put a big focus on be a good writer, and you have to actually enjoy what you're doing. It's not you're not deliberately trying to be subversive with anything. It's like no, you have a good story, and maybe there's a great message in it. But for the time being, focus on being a good storyteller.
It's great. So we've talked, I know, a lot about community and the importance of community. I would love to have you just tell me a little bit more in detail about Legend Haven. And
Mhm.
and again, you said it's distinctive in the sense that it's really a conference about mostly fun and getting together.
Yeah.
So, but what
Uh,
else could people expect at the conference, the con?
Yeah, well, that's why we've actually chosen the name convention as opposed to conference. Because the way that I see it, conference is it's a place you go to learn and meet other people and to focus around
Right.
learning. We do have plenty of short talks, TED-like talks, but we're calling it more of a convention. One, because we would like to invite people to show up in costume if they want to. It is more about the speed meetings, the sessions, the chance for people to meet up with each other around their passions, around their interests. We have things like book launches happening. I think there's about 3 book launches. There's a cover reveal going on. There's a podcast launch for the new year that is happening. So the big vision that we have for Legend Haven is, well, one, we want to celebrate our first anniversary and
Mhm.
share what we have because we think what we have is pretty cool. And we think a lot of teens and a lot of families are going to enjoy joining us. And even if they don't, they might just enjoy meeting other people who think like them and who like the same sorts of things in terms of fiction, sci-fi, and fantasy, and so on. But the bigger vision that we have is we have not seen a concerted effort every year to have something as large and as dramatic as Comic-Con for the Catholic and the Orthodox space. The kind of thing where each year writers can look forward to, or readers can look forward to, a specific time each year when they can hang out with their favorite authors, meet other people who think like them and like the same sorts of things, have trailers, landing, have new things being announced, and so on. So that's the big idea that we're trying to kick off the ground, and we're actually so impressed at how fast. I mean, we only announced it like a month and a half ago, 2 months ago. I can't believe how fast the schedule is filled up with authors who just want to present and share what they've got going on, with sponsors who want to be a part of this, and then with the number of people who are writing in and joining and who are stoked. Like, how did I never heard of this brand? It's like, well, it is only 2 months old under this name, but
Exactly.
we came out of the gate really strong. So
Yeah.
it's a free event as of for 2022. It's 2 days after Thanksgiving, Saturday the 26th. We
Mhm.
figured everybody's turkeyed out. Maybe the games are on, and maybe the writers in the family aren't as stoked to be watching the games all day long. So you can dip in throughout the day. It runs from about 9 to in the morning, 6 in the evening. And
And
again,
that's
it's
Eastern time.
primarily Eastern Standard. That's right.
Yeah.
And it's primarily sessions. You can have a look at the schedule once you register,
Once you
and you
register, you
can
can look at the whole schedule,
see
right?
the full schedule. That's right. See all the booths, all of the talks that are going to be premiered are all staying
So
completely
when you
free.
say booths, some of them, there's going to be authors that people can actually like meet, talk
That's right.
with, and be.
That's
Yeah,
right.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Who are
we have I think you might have even interviewed one of them, but Tony Kolink is going to be there with his Harwood Mysteries. Karina Fabian from the Catholic Writers Guild is going to be there. Mary Woods with her recent sci-fi novel from Chrism Press.
nice?
Chrism Press has been wonderful in terms of a partner because we're
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
walking right along with them in the same area. So
Well, I know
it's a
Eleanor
fun event.
Nicholson. They publish her books, and she's a
Mhm.
good part of that. And she's been part of our conferences for the Catholic homeschooling families. Yeah, yeah,
That's
really
true
great.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just like thinking they can go, and you're gonna. Here's the thing, Hollywood, big publishers don't get it.
Mhm.
They're just throwing gobs of money towards junk. I
Mhm.
constantly, because my heart has always been for literature, reading as that and that way of inspiring our youth. And once you have a love of reading, it sort of sets you up for life, especially.
Mhm.
Also, just reading aloud as a family, you make memories together. But it's
Mhm.
getting harder and harder, Dominic, for young families to find things that are
Yes.
inspiring and great. And yes, there's plenty of classics, but God didn't stop creating writers
It's
who
true.
are from this time period to inspire people. And I
I
know that there's
discovered
families out there and there's authors
yeah.
out there that want to be published and
Mhm.
inspiring people.
It's true. And the on the one hand, the landscape has changed so dramatically in the last 10 years. So to that end, we actually have three different kinds of people speaking at the conference. We have two people talking on self-publishing. One is starting an academy in the new year, which is incredible, to help people with self-publishing. We have collaborated with an agent who is helping authors to find the right publisher for them. And we have a beautiful relationship with Chrism Press in terms of publishing adult sci-fi fantasy fiction, but then also Pauline Books and Media looking for
Mhm.
overtly Catholic um, sci-fi fantasy, content for children and for young adults. So it's amazing to have those partnerships. But something you said really sparked a thought that, like you said, God hasn't stopped creating. And I discovered this line recently that the job of the Christian, of the Catholic in every age is the job of the translator. In every age, we are translating these beautiful and timeless truths into the words and the language of the people of our time or the place where you live. Ours is a job of translation. And in our where we live today, generational change happens so fast that we can't keep up with the amount of translation that is needed. Not just like translating one text to another text. No, ideas from metaphors that don't hold 20, 30 years ago to metaphors that now
Right.
are, working today. So in a way, it's kind of like a rat race to
Yeah.
try to keep up
And
with it,
you
but
could
it's still
say that
something needed.
today's culture has really tried to, try to hijack um, many of the beautiful languages and
Mhm.
redefine them in
Right.
a way that is destructive to families, destructive to our to the core of our beliefs.
Mhm.
So to be able to, not say, oh, everything of the past was good, everything today is not good, but
Mhm.
actually embracing and affecting culture in many ways, like that the new springtime evangelizations, the message of our
Mhm.
beautiful, Pope Saint John Paul II in his,
Yes.
and he of course had such a heart for the young people as well. We have to be not afraid. We have to go forward in hope, and that's what I love about this whole mission. Dominic, we opened up our hearts to say, okay, God, and then the floodgates are open and you see such beautiful hearts wanting to give their talents and gifts in the
Absolutely.
written
Yeah.
word.
Absolutely true. So
Yeah,
that's
there's art also. When you say there's also a
mhm.
component of artwork as well.
There is like half of our authors are also artists, and so we haven't put as much focus on that with Legend Fiction, but they're just continuing to draw and illustrate, and some of them are now actually illustrating for each other in the community.
Oh, so
As a
cool.
new story comes out, someone
Yeah.
says, "Hey," and they do a drawing or illustration, maybe digital art, and they send it over, and so we ended up having to build a website just to hold all the stories.
Amazing.
And some of them are taking this art that is custom created for their story, and they're featuring it and putting it up. And we're realizing, okay, we now need to build a gig marketplace for these authors to start supporting each other, and for the mentors to offer services. And so we're kind of building an ecosystem around
Yeah.
helping
So
authors
do
not just
people
create
actually
but start
read the
publishing.
stories? So the stories of the journal. I know the journal you can get that in print, but
Mhm.
you also very, wisely and kindly offer all the journals which have these stories as PDFs. And so
Mhm.
is it in the Legend Fiction people to join the community, or is there just the website? How can people access all these beautiful works?
Right. So that you can visit Legend Fiction, and then probably just visit the blog, and you'll see the latest issue of Pennon available. We put one out every quarter right after the contest.
Mhm.
But we, like I said, built a website dedicated to hosting all these stories, so authors can create profiles and then add as many stories as they like.
That's awesome.
Um, Readers can then just go through and just read all of these stories for free. They have to create a profile, leave a comment, and they can like 5-star a story if they like. Um, You can send a message to your favorite author, and if you like what they're doing, you can even, if the author set it up, you can go and donate like a $5 to them, buy them a cup of coffee to help them to keep writing, and to sort of help fund or support their writing journey. But yes, we do offer pennon for, it's about $25 an issue.
It's
I
beautiful.
volunteer creating all of that. And then we give the PDF away for free because all of the stories are online for free. We're more about, I like what you said, not just the springtime, but helping to create opportunities for
Mhm.
authors to start building their author brand, to start
Right.
writing, to get comfortable publishing and sharing things. Because as you said, there is this need for, well, our contribution as Catholic and Orthodox. There is this need for our contribution to creativity. Children,
Right.
younger children, teens, adults, are looking for this kind of thing, and we're not finding it in the libraries. We're not sure what we can trust. So we don't know how big this is going to get. We kind of hope it does, but we'll see.
Like I said, you say yes to God and he takes you in places.
I
You
didn't expect
and then he
that.
just infuses it with his grace and it just lifts off into this incredible thing that's really so beautiful to serve him. So,
The
yeah.
thing that I feel is uh, most helpful with something like this, especially for if you're a homeschooling teen, because we welcome
Mhm.
teens from any walk of life. But
Yeah.
for a homeschooling teen, think like you said, kindly mentioning my own story as a homeschool teen who loved writing, um, creating a space for homeschoolers to not feel alone as teens, because even sometimes you homeschool for just logistical reasons, living far away from somebody, or you've
Yeah.
moved to a new place or so on. So one, feeling like, one, you're not alone, creating opportunities to chat online, video chatting with other people, to give and get feedback. It gives you an outlet. It gives you a place to continue staying in touch with other people. Um, but if this is something that you enjoy doing, which is being creative, then having that outlet, having that parent endorsed space, where
Yeah.
you can create. This is something I do believe, that if you're a creative teen, you do need to be doing this, because the imagination is not just an aspect of us that maybe gets some attention and is probably a good idea, but we all need to be grown up, system rules following adults. The imagination. George MacDonald is somebody who inspired Chesterton, C.S. Lewis, and Tolkien, and so on. He wrote a variety of different incredible novels and so on. He wrote an article that I just read this past week where he talks about the imagination as a truth-bearing faculty, because the imagination is an aspect or a component of us where the Spirit of God himself is active in us. And it's our capacity to imagine that is the capacity to solve problems, to see things, and to love things in themselves and not just as we want them to be. It's the capacity to build a better future, to see, to be creative. All of that comes out of a healthy imagination. Now, of course, as we're younger and as we're children, we're going to imagine all kinds of funny and crazy, zany things. But really, that's just like, before you're an Olympic runner, you just need to be running anywhere and everywhere. And sometimes they might seem silly or crazy, but that's just because you need to flex that thing. And that's why a lot of children's stories have all kinds of fun and funny things happening that are deliberately unrealistic, because the mind has to get used to combining and mixing together things that don't exist as we see around them, so that when we become adults, we have the capacity and that mental strength and the spiritual strength
Yeah,
to
and
recombine
in
and imagine
homeschooling,
it.
it's one of the key things, we talk about all the time in terms of, for one, is the mysteries of our faith. It is within our imagination. We talk about our imaginations running, wild, or taking control of us. There are aspects of growing up where we want to, as you said, and I think that's perfectly said, is that we want to flex those muscles, those imagination muscles, so that it
Mhm.
doesn't control us, but we control it in the sense that we call upon it, draw upon it at will for that kind of higher level thinking. It's also in terms of imagining truth, the truth of our faith, but even just on a
Mhm.
practical level, going out into outer space,
Mhm.
contemplating that there's actually the stars we're looking at, have died before. Like, how do you even like contemplate those things, just the miracle of you get sick and then several days later your body has healed itself. Just all these things are things we want to flex our imagination muscles. Yeah.
Yes. So let's start in wrapping. Let's share. We have an announcement or something we've been working on for a while with the family plan. What's the key thing that you think is valuable about something like a family plan?
Yeah. So of course, with homeschooling families usually do things as a family because it's a homeschool lifestyle. So as I said, there may be just one person in the family that's interested in it. That's fine, but generally speaking, it's kind of nice to have some siblings or even just a parent join. So very kindly, Dominic, you've opened up the door for us in our community to have just one price, one flat rate for an entire family to join. They can then put in their individual profiles, but essentially you just pay one small price for becoming part of the community. It's that's just something that's going to make it very economical as well. So thank you.
No, absolutely. I know that for example, my family, we had 8 kids in my case, but 3 of us were all into writing, and 2 of us were like extremely serious. So being able to have, our entry fee is deliberately very low to encourage writers, to not be like a barrier for creativity. And to encourage them to get in there and just to write. And sometimes they're not even ready to write. They just need to hang around and sort of be marinating in the spirit of what's going on to get some of that energy, that excitement. But if you have several people, or if there are adults who are also writing, or let's keep it immediate family. We're not doing cousins and so on. But you can follow a link on the website for the family plan. You pay one flat fee. I think it's something very small, like what is it, $50 a year for any number of people.
Right.
Yeah. And then in so doing, you're directly supporting Catholic Homeschool Community as well, because we take that fee and then we just split that. So when you use that plan, you're not only helping as many people as you want in your family to come in and join the community, you're also directly supporting Paola. And of course, you're supporting Legend Fiction as well.
Yeah, it's great. It's beautiful. And as you said, I think it's important for us to also note that, those seeds are planting for something they may be called to do as adults. And so to be able to support them in this kind of environment and in this community is a blessing. And thank you for putting together the Legend Haven. Can't wait. It's going to be very exciting. So again, it's November 26th, and I hope people come sign up today for it. Start getting excited and planning out the sessions they're going to attend. And as you said, 9 to 3 Eastern time. And that's Thanksgiving weekend on a Saturday. Yay.
Yep, that's right. Thanksgiving weekend, the 26th of November. Just to correct, it's 9 to 6. Of course, you don't have to stick around the whole day. But once you put in your email and you register, it'll then show you where you can go get your ticket. You can then see the whole schedule, and then you can add to your calendar which particular events you want to go to. But again, it is free. If you want to purchase a ticket that supports the con, you can, but it's not mandatory. If you do, you get a bonus story read aloud session with me that's private, and whoever else chooses to support the con. I forgot what I was going to say. You can see all the sessions. Oh, and then of course, all of the talks are going to be free. So if you can't make it, well, you can still catch up on all the talks if you want to. You will have missed, of course, the magic of hanging out and speed meeting with other people and that more personal connection. But, well, that's what the Legend Fiction community is all about, because we just do that every day all year round anyway. So
Exactly. And so I really encourage people to just, take a peek, scope it out, and join Dominic and the beautiful people that are, and our teens, our Catholic teen authors that are already hanging out there, already publishing some of the stories. So thanks for this opportunity, Dominic.
My pleasure. Thanks for coming on, Paola. Thank you for everybody who's watching or listening. And if you have any questions, you can reach out, of course, to Paola at any time through CatholicHomeschoolCommunity.com. Or if you're in the Legend Fiction community, you can just message me there or visit LegendFiction.com and send us a message there. Thanks again. God bless you, everybody. And hopefully we'll see you at the con.
God bless.